Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time today to join us for our Working from Home webinar. The platform we're using today is Microsoft Teams and is one of the three primary technologies we'll be touching on. During this time of unpredictability and need to be nimble while working remotely, we're fortunate to have the tools to allow us to do so effectively. One piece of housekeeping, we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, please enter them into the question and answer box. May I introduce Bruce Hunter, Senior Account Manager, and David Westgate, Service Business Manager, that take you through some of the technologies that can help you be productive working from home. Bruce, over to you.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. Today, David and I are here to provide an introduction and some clarity on Microsoft Teams, VPN connections, and Windows virtual desktops. As we work from home, we need to understand how best to collaborate with our colleagues, stay in touch with our clients, continue our business activities, and as you're seeing here right now, we're trying to maintain our sanity. So this is a great opportunity to look at some of these features. David is our technical expert. Thank you for taking the time today to discuss this with us. Everybody's very busy, and I appreciate you making that effort.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about that. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be a part of this.
Wonderful. So right now, many businesses already have Microsoft Teams, whether they know it or not, as part of their existing Microsoft Office 365 account. So David, from a high level, can you explain what Microsoft Teams is and how it can best be leveraged for staff communication?
Sure, man. You can think of Teams as a hub for teamwork, which allows you to communicate and collaborate in a central and secure environment. You can think about Teams as a 4-in-1 solution. You have your messaging, which is your rich chat-based experience. You have your online meetings, which is including video and audio. You have your phone system and calling capabilities, which is then based on Microsoft's worldwide network and is available from anywhere in the world. And then you have your native integration with all your well-known apps like Word and Excel and a host of other third-party applications.
Perfect. So through best practice, I advise people, all of MSPs through best practice do as well, to host their data on their either physical local server or on their cloud-based server. But when working remotely, we often require access to this data. So as I understand it, both VPN connections and Windows virtual desktops can provide solutions to this, but can you explain the differences between the two for us?
Sure. VPN or virtual private networks allows you to securely access your office environment and server as if you were in the office, but you have to use your own computer or laptop. Windows Virtual Desktop, or WVD, allows you to access your desktop and server environment no matter where you are and virtually from any device.
Okay, so that explains the difference between the two, but why would a business choose one over the other?
So the main difference, VPN technology is hosted on-premise and is reliant on your company's internet speed. All file services, applications such as SQL or Sage are hosted locally, and you need to be connected to the office and able to access these resources. Performance will degrade as more users connect via the VPN as it allows, essentially. With WVD, the server and desktops are actually hosted in the cloud, and the client's experience is based on their own internet speed. So if it's poor in one location, they can always jump to another location. If it's poor or they need more power, need the computer to be a little faster, we can make it faster for them as well. Now, Teams, on the other hand, can operate in both environments, but can be as effective in a serverless environment as well, where there's no need for SQL or Sage or QuickBooks, essentially. Teams offers that same file structure that you're used to right now on your existing file server. As long as those files are hosted in Teams, SharePoint or OneDrive, you'll have access to them from anywhere, whether it be an iPad, a cell phone, whether you're in a hotel, internet cafe, business center, or if you're on vacation. So talking about vacations, Bruce, you're a sales guy, you quite often are remote and you work remotely. How do you find working in a WVD environment?
Okay, we've talked about this in the past, but calling me remote as an individual is a bit frustrating, but we're going to focus on the working remotely because that's what this is about today. So we'll get to that later offline, David. I did have a great example, actually. I was down in Costa Rica about a year ago, having a terrific vacation, but like everybody on vacation, they stress a little bit about what's happening back in the office. The internet connections there were very, very slow at the places I was staying, but I was able to leverage my cell phone, create a hotspot, and connect to the Windows Virtual Desktop from there, which was fantastic. Not only was I able to connect to the work environment, see the applications that I need to engage with, be able to access the data and client requests, but I was able to alleviate my stress and enjoy my vacation because I could confidently know that I could connect to it at any time. So Microsoft Teams, as we're talking about, can provide the team collaboration and access to current work documents, as I was mentioning for what I did, through that Windows Virtual Desktop, but Teams can also host it. If I want to connect to the domain, though, how would I go about that?
Yeah, so traditionally you need to be connected to the domain to access any of those resources, whether it be files, applications, etc. Now Teams actually allows you to work collaboratively. It allows you to co-author documents. Traditionally, if you are connected in the office or via VPN and you try to open another file, you'd often get presented with the option of open in read-only mode or alert me when you're done, essentially. Let me show you how we actually work in a collaborative manner, essentially. I've just got a demo Excel spreadsheet here. And as you can see, as when you're getting into the spreadsheet, right at the top here, you can see your profile. And directly underneath that, you can see all the co-authors who are currently in the document as well. They have got their color designations as well. Bruce pink and Jason is blue right now. And you can see exactly where people are working. This allows you to work quite nicely and collaboratively in that environment, essentially. Looking at this here, I can always just go in here and say, hey, at Bruce, please add that chart we were talking about, yeah? And that will actually alert you either if you're in the document, alert you right away. If you're not in the document, it allows you to come back to that document at any time, as it sends you a notification that somebody has alerted you to do something within this file that you're working on. And there you go. Very, very quick and easy. And that Jason verified, yeah, and asking him to do or being able to collaborate within a document like this really provides you that same ability and prevents you from having to get around and huddle around the table working on somebody's laptop. Essentially, you're able to utilize this as if you were in the office quite quickly and easily. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, David, we see we've got 3 people connected right now, working on the same document, but it does raise the question of how many people can connect at one time.
Well, the maximum is 99, but Microsoft recommends no more than 10 concurrent co-authors at any one point in time. Yeah.
Okay. So, what about other limitations?
One that pops to mind is in Excel, is if that you're working in the same workbook, you're able to work pretty well and easily together. Within the same worksheet, you're able to work together, but you cannot work in the same cell as one another. So you'd need to wait until they're done in that cell, essentially, if you wanted to add anything into that cell, essentially. But what is nice is that it tracks where each of the co-authors are in that document at the same time. In Word, same thing. You can work in the same document, but you can't work on the same line as somebody's currently working. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good clarification. It prevents us overwriting each other's work, and that's fantastic to know. So this is really focused on a specific document, a specific spreadsheet. Can you show us a little bit about the Teams environment itself?
Sure. As you can see, we got the current live meeting over here. I'll switch over to one of the teams and getting in there. I like to always look at the activity side. That's right at the top. This notifies you of any activity where you've been mentioned in a specific team or in an environment. Just below that, we've got the chat environment, and this will talk, shows you that immersive chat that is available. You're able to collaborate with anybody within your organization across the board, essentially. Then you've got the teams side, and this is where all the magic really happens. This is a list of all the teams that you are included in or a part of or have managed yourself. Underneath each team, you have the various channels as well, and that's where you can really separate a team into different work areas or however you feel is appropriate. At the top of each team, you'll see that there are tabs, and we start off with a post over here. We've got files essentially, and this allows you to collaborate quite nicely there. Calendar integrates directly into your Outlook calendar, essentially giving you full access to whatever you're doing and reminders as you used to. The calls function, if it is available, will pop up here, and that allows you to make and receive phone calls from anywhere in the world, again, as long as you have that internet connection, which we're all so reliant on. And then you got the file section, and this really just alludes to all the files that you've been working on as well, we'll have access to.
Okay, good. So you're on a bit of a roll here, David, and you're in your demonstration kind of mood. While you're in that mood, would you mind giving us a glimpse of what the Windows Virtual Desktop looks like? Do you have that ready to roll?
Yeah, I sure do. Funny you ask. So yeah, just going into this, we've got the remote desktop application. This is an application that's available in the Windows Store. It's available in the iOS App Store, in the Google Play Store, the Android stores, essentially. And this allows you to access your desktop from basically any environment, essentially. So double clicking on that, putting in my credentials over here, and that'll flip on over to our screen as it just signs in. And as that signs in, it really just reconnecting to your desktop in the environment that you would have left essentially the day you shut down, or the day you went away on your vacation. Essentially, it pops up with your desktop as is. You have access to all your applications across the board. So opening up your Chrome is exactly the same as you do when you're in the office and outside of the office. This is the same desktop that you'd be working on. So you'd have access to all your tabs across the top here. They're all synchronized as it is one unit. So it doesn't matter where you're accessing this from, you're able to work quite easily and effectively. You've got access to all your applications that you would normally have access to. And again, because this is your desktop, whether you're working in the office or outside of the office, this is what you'd be seeing at all times.
Okay, so we're connecting right now to the Windows Virtual Desktop. We've talked a little bit about VPN, we've talked about Teams, and they're all used to connect to the environments remotely. So for me, and I think for most, that's going to lead to the question of what about security for these connections?
Yeah, well, security is, again, top of everybody's mind, and we really need to be vigilant as it comes to security. All these solutions that we have talked about really focuses on the secure side of things. VPNs should always be encrypted. You should, when possible, use that two-phase authentication on your VPN. WVD, as we're looking over here, will always encrypt the traffic to and from your site, essentially. So all traffic is encrypted at rest as well as in transit. And you're then challenged with your username and your password, as well as with the multi-factor authentication side of things. Teams, as part of the Office suite, again, will use your username and password, which is the same as your Active Directory username and password. And again, that will talk to you about the multi-factor authentication that you're able to use, and that will challenge you to ensure that you are who you are. Multi-factor authentication, again, just putting it in the lightly, as that challenge process to ensure that you are who you say you are. And it will send a code to a predetermined device or application that you have access to. And once you put that code in, it will then validate you and give you access to your resources.
Okay. So I think that gives a pretty good overview of the three different options we wanted to talk about today. So at this time, David, thank you so much. But that does complete our portion of the presentation. Jason, let's turn it back over to you at this time. Okay, I'm just going to jump in for one more second here and just make sure that we are aware that we can always mute out people during our presentations, and we just need to make sure we click back in so we're good to go.
So thank you, David, for your expertise, and Bruce, thank you as always. Before we go, we're going to open this up to questions. So you can just type your questions into the live event Q&A box, and then David or Bruce or I will answer them for you. And then at the very end, David will give us his 5 takeaways. So let's see what we have. David, are you able to collaborate in teams with people outside of your organization?
You sure are, Jason. Microsoft has really opened that up, especially recently, and allowing you to invite guests from any organization, whether they be on the Google Suite, within a Hotmail environment, or just a standard email user. You're able to invite users as well as control their access to what they will see and what they will have access to. So yeah.
Very good. Another question here from Cameron. Is virtual desktop like a cloud version of terminal server?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're putting that terminal server, the traditional terminal server, essentially in the cloud, making sure that we don't have to utilize your on-site bandwidth, your on-site environment, essentially. So you don't need to have that environmental setup, and you don't have to worry about the infrastructure side of that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and a question similar to that, why would someone use Windows Virtual Desktop versus a VPN?
Again, from a resource side of things, the VPN will be based on that local internet speed essentially, and will degrade as more users connect to that. From a WVD environment, you have access to that from anywhere, as long as you do have that internet connection. It's reliant on your internet connection. But really key to this is that you can connect to your environment from virtually any device, whether it be an iPad, a Chromebook, or your laptop essentially, or whether you're in an internet cafe, you can connect back to that virtual environment without any issues.
Excellent. A question just asking maybe a little bit more information about Teams and the file structure, how to work with the file structure in Teams. Could you show us a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Let me share it again. As I was saying before, it's very similar to the environment that you'd be used to in your server environment, essentially. Going off to a team here, and we can just pick up my team. Go off to the files section over here. We have the ability to see the file structure essentially. We have the ability to create new folders and or documents right within here. And if we do create a new folder, excuse my creativity, I'm a technical person. New folder just opens up that new folder, and within here we're able to then create additional subfolders. And I couldn't even think of one on the fly. Creating multiple subfolders within the environment as well. You have the ability to create documents right within here. You're able to save any document by just dragging them into the environment, or using the upload feature right over here, where you can then select which files or multiple files you want to add into the environment. You also have the ability to sync this back to your environment, so that if you are going on a trip or you don't have access to internet, you are able to then sync that back to your environment as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very similar to working in a, in a regular My Documents type folder, just with that additional syncing through to multi-device. So very, very handy.
Yeah.
Can you show how you would be able to add additional apps in Teams site?
Yeah. Again, a really great feature, and Microsoft has really worked on this integration. I think this is what separates them from most, is the ability to add the additional applications and or files and folders within Teams. Essentially, you have a multitude of different applications that you have access to. We use Crewwho for our customer satisfaction. It's a great tool, and we can drop that in, and it will be reporting back to exactly what we want to see. Essentially, have access to that full application within the Teams environment.
Perfect.
Access to all of these others as well. Yeah.
Sure, David. If you could just share your screen so we all can see what you're looking at right now, that'd be great.
Let's do that again. Sorry. So going back into the team here. Oh. Share the screen. Here we go. Okay, so as I was saying, the ability here to just add the tab allows you access to those applications, and there's a host of applications that are available. Third-party applications, the standard Microsoft applications, and this will give you access to either files, folders, or the full application within the Teams environment. And there's a host and multitude of other applications as well. So yeah.
Well, no, that's great. I know OneNote is one that we share in a lot of our teams for ongoing meeting notes and being able to have, various information kind of shared over time. So it's a real valuable way that we use to kind of collaborate. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, just on planner side of things, yeah, you can either have that application right in there, add an existing plan, or create a new plan as you'd like to. So yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely Microsoft has added a lot of widget apps especially over the last couple of years. It just opens up a lot of creativity when it comes to collaboration. So really meaningful stuff. That is all the questions we have right now. Dave, can you offer some advice going forward?
Sure. Really, it's about moving forward, and working from home is a big decision that you need to make in your environment. You firstly just got to identify your requirements. What does your staff need to do their jobs effectively from home? The two is set those expectations, provide a clear outline of how meetings and collaborative work should be conducted. And three, kind of maintain that communication. You want to deliver a remote work experience that is as business as usual as possible. To accomplish this, employees, managers, co-workers that are working remotely should communicate with each other as if they were in the office, essentially. Security is obviously always key. With more people working remotely and from home, this can unfortunately have a negative effect on your security, and making sure that your security is as good as it needs to be is really, really key. But we're here to help as well. So, and then just engage with your IT provider or your team, whether that be us or not. If it is us, reach out to your account manager, and we can see essentially what your best options are for you in your environment. I hope that's beneficial and it gives you somewhere to move forward to. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. David, we just have one last question here. If we could just jump back for a second,
Yeah.
We just want to get everything all sorted out. So it might be, we have a question asking, can virtual desktop connect to an app it says share web, but it might be share web cloud like Sage, SQL Server, etc.
Yes, definitely. So from a remote desktop perspective, we set up that server environment as we would on premise, essentially. The only difference is that it is hosted in the cloud. So all those applications that are available to you or that we make available to you, you'll have access to it within that work environment. So if that's a database application, or whether that's just a standard application that you're using within the work environment to collaborate, you do have access to that. We can even go as far as providing graphical user interfaces. So for those CAD guys out there or design guys, having some larger GPU applications available to you is available as well. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, David. No, that's really good information. We appreciate that. There's so many different aspects here around collaboration, working from home. When we look at all the different options, it's not something that we'll be able to answer in a chat webinar. So please reach out to us at sales@microagesas.com, or if you have a dedicated account manager, reach out to them as well. Also, we have half-day and full-day classes on Microsoft Teams, Office 365, and all the collaboration tools. Visit microage.ca/Regina, have a look at our training offerings, or once again, just reach out to sales@microagesas.com. We thank you very much for your time and attention. We wish you all the best and have a wonderful afternoon.
Cheers.